Every time a TM-62 mine detonates in Ukraine, it utilizes a German design from 1935. Every time Russian forces lay anti-tank mines, they are copying the German Tellermine from 90 years ago. Every time a Leopard 2 or T-72 tank is destroyed by a mine, it's German technology, whether on the NATO or Russian side. Ukraine, present day, 174,000 square kilometers contaminated with mines, 40% of the entire territory. 2 million mines scattered, the most mined land on Earth, surpassing Afghanistan, surpassing Syria, surpassing Cambodia, and almost all of these mines are based on the ominous legacy of 1935 German engineering. This is the story of how a German invention terrorizes the world. 90 years later, 1935, Germany. World War I revealed problems. Old mines were ineffective against tanks, too weak, too unreliable, too complicated. German engineers systematically analyzed what does an effective anti-tank mine need. First, enough explosive force to destroy tank treads. Second, a reliable pressure detonator that triggers under the weight of a tank. Third, simple to produce, mass production possible. Fourth, easy to deploy. Infantry can do it. Fifth, hard to detect, hard to diffuse. The solution: the Tellermine, 35. Tellermine literally means plate mine. Like a plate. Like a dinner plate, flat, round disc. The design was revolutionary in its simplicity. Metal casing, circular, 33 centimeters in diameter, 9 centimeters high, 5.5 kilograms of explosives, TNT or amatol. On top, a large pressure plate. The entire upper area is a sensor. A tank drives over it. Anywhere on the mine. Detonation guaranteed. Pressure from 180 to 220 pounds triggers it. Perfectly calibrated. Too light? Infantry can walk over it without triggering. Too heavy? A tank will definitely detonate it. The Tellermine 35 went into production in 1935. First test. The Spanish Civil War, 1937 to 39. The German Condor Legion systematically tested the Tellermine 35 against Republican tanks, against Soviet T-26 tanks, against BT-5 tanks. Results were devastating. One mine, one tread destroyed, tank immobilized. A sitting duck. Soviet military observers were present. They studied, they documented, they learned. World War II began in 1939. Poland, France, the Soviet Union, North Africa, Italy, Normandy, every front. The Tellermine became the standard, the legend, the nightmare for Allied tankers. But the 1935 design had limitations. German engineers continuously improved it. 1942, the Tellermine 42 introduced improvements: a second fuse well for booby traps, an anti-handling device. If someone tries to remove the mine, explosion. Additional explosives. 5.5 kilos increased to 6 kilos, but production was too slow. Germany needed millions of mines. Metal shortages became a problem. The solution: the wooden mine 42, wood instead of metal. Ingenious and desperate at the same time. Wooden casing, pressed cardboard inside, same TNT, same detonator. But made of wood. Advantage: the wood industry could produce them. Furniture factories, carpentry shops, everyone could build mines. Disadvantage: metal detectors couldn't find them. Later that became a feature, not a bug. Wooden mine 42 production. Over 5 million units. At the same time, Germany developed the bar mine 43, long rectangular shape instead of round. Why? A longer mine means a higher probability that a tank will drive over it. The Barmine 43 was 1 meter long, 10 centimeters wide, 9 centimeters high, 4 kilos of TNT. Production, over 3 million units between 1943 and 45. But the Tellermine remained the standard. The icon? The Tellermine 43 was the final evolution, improved construction, less metal needed, faster production, same effectiveness. Between March 1943 and the end of the war, over 3.5 million Tellermine 43s produced at all the versions. Tellermine 35, Tellermine 42, Tellermine 43, Wooden Mine 42, Barmine 43. Germany produced over 12 million anti-tank mines in World War II. The Eastern Front, Kursk, 1943. The Germans laid hundreds of thousands of mines. Soviet T-34s drove into minefields. Catastrophic losses. But the Soviets also laid mines, millions of them, their own designs, TM-35, TM-41. Primitive constructions. Then they studied captured German mines, systematically, scientifically. Normandy, 1944. Field Marshal Rommel ordered massive mine deployment. The Atlantic Wall, beaches, access roads, fields. Rommel wanted 50 million mines, got 5 to 6 million, still enormous. Allied engineers captured Tellermine examples, Aberdeen Proving Ground, USA, Bovington, UK. Detailed studies, technical drawings, X-rays. Detonator mechanism analysis. American engineers developed the M15 anti-tank mine, clearly inspired by the Tellermine, circular, pressure plate, similar concept. But the real copy came from the Soviets, 1945. Germany capitulates. Soviet forces overran German factories, ammunition plants, arsenals. What did they find? Hundreds of thousands of unexploded mines, Tellermines, wooden mines, bar mines, tons of technical documents, blueprints, production specifications, material studies, thousands of German engineers, technicians, mine experts. The Soviets systematically deported them. Operation Osoaviakim, October 1946. 2,500 German scientists and engineers, plus 4,000 family members, 6,000 people in total. 3 a.m., October 22nd. Simultaneous arrests throughout the entire Soviet occupation zone. NKVD troops knocked on doors. Families had 2 hours to pack. Maximum 50 kilograms of luggage per family. German mine experts, detonator mechanism specialists, explosives chemists, production engineers, all on lists. Lists were prepared for months. Soviet intelligence identified every important technician, every scientist, every engineer with knowledge of German weapons, transport, trains to the east, days-long journey, heavily guarded, destination, the Soviet Union, design bureaus, factories, research facilities, mission, developed Soviet copies of German weapons. Mines were a priority. The Tellermine was the gold standard. German engineers were forced to copy their own invention for the enemy under compulsion. The Tellermine blueprints were analyzed. Every detail, every dimension, every chemical formula for explosives, every mechanism for detonators, German experts had to explain, demonstrate, improve. Soviet engineers learned quickly, copied methodically. 1946, TM-46 developed. TM stands for Tankovaya Mina, tank mine. 46, the year of introduction, 1946. And the design? Wikipedia states it explicitly. Quote, the TM-46 mine was modeled on German designs. End quote. Not inspired by, not similar to, modeled on, copied. Look at the TM-46 specifications. Circular metal casing, 30 centimeters in diameter. Almost identical to the Tellermine 43. large pressure plate on top. The entire upper area is a sensor, just like the Tellermine. 5.5 kilos of TNT. The exact same explosive charge as the Tellermine 35. Pressure of 200 pounds triggers it, the same calibration as the German original. Anti-handling device possible. Secondary detonator against disarming. Copied from the Tellermine 42. The TM-46 went into massive production. The Soviet Union produced millions. Warsaw Pact countries produced millions more. Poland, Czechoslovakia, East Germany, Hungary, Bulgaria, Romania, all produced the TM-46 or variants, all based on the ominous legacy of 1935 German engineering. But the Soviets didn't stop there. 1950, the Korean War. North Korean and Chinese forces used TM-46 mines against American M4 Shermans, against M26 Pershings. Effective, devastating. The German design worked perfectly. 1960, TM-57 developed, larger than the TM-46, 6.5 kilos of TNT, against heavier tanks like the M48 Patton, but the basic design, still the Tellermine, circular, pressure plate, a German concept. 1960, TM-62 series developed. This became the standard for the Soviet Union and successor states. TM-62M, TM-62P, TM-62P3, TM-62D, multiple variants, all variants based on the same principle. The Tellermine principle, the ominous legacy of 1935 German engineering. TM-62M specifications, circular metal casing, presses against a pressure plate, 7 kilo TNT explosive charge, can take multiple detonators. MVCH-62 pressure detonator, MVM tripwire detonator, MVN tilt rod detonator, anti-tank, anti-personnel, combined. A modular system. Production, 10 million plus units since introduction, exported to over 50 countries worldwide. Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Angola, Mozambique, Cambodia, Yemen. Everywhere Soviet weapons went, the TM-62 went with it, and every single one, a German design concept from the ominous legacy of 1935 German engineering. 1979, the Afghan War begins. Soviet forces laid millions of TM-62 mines against mujahideen, against villagers, indiscriminately. 10 years of war, an estimated 10 million mines laid. Specific tactics. The Soviets laid mines around villages, around water sources, around farmland, economic warfare, helicopter drops. Mi-8 helicopters flew over mujahideen territories, scattering TM-62 mines with parachutes, like sowing seeds, seeds of death. The mujahideen learned, used captured Soviet mines against Soviet tanks, TM-62 against T-62 tanks. The irony, Panjshir Valley, Ahmad Shah Massoud's forces laid TM-62s on mountain roads. Soviet columns drove into ambushes. The lead vehicle hit a mine. The column stopped. RPG-7s from the mountains. Annihilation. The same tactics the Viet Cong used in Vietnam. The same tactics the Taliban uses today. The Tellermine concept. A German invention from the ominous legacy of 1935 German engineering. The Soviets withdrew in 1989. The mines remained. 30 years later, Afghanistan is still contaminated. 2001 to 2021, the US occupation of Afghanistan. American forces encountered Afghan mines, TM-62s laid in the 70s and 80s, 40 years old, still functional. German engineering quality, Soviet mass production, 40 years in the ground, working perfectly. 1992, the Yugoslav wars. Serbian forces, Croatian forces, Bosnian forces all used TM series mines, hundreds of thousands laid. Bosnia remains contaminated. 2000, the Chechen wars. Russian forces laid TM-62s massively against Chechen separatists, Grozny, mountains, forests, mines everywhere. 2003, the Iraq War. Iraqi forces used TM series mines against the US invasion, ineffective against M1 Abrams mostly, but some kills. Insurgents later used them as IED components. TM-62 explosive charge in roadside bombs. 2011, the Syrian Civil War. The Syrian government laid hundreds of thousands of mines. TM-62, TM-46, other Soviet types. ISIS used captured mines. Al-Nusra too. Syria became one of the most mined countries in the world, until Ukraine. 2022, February 24th, the Russian invasion of Ukraine. The first days, tank colossuses stormed towards Kiev, a rapid offensive planned. Then, mines. Ukrainian forces had prepared for months. Roads, bridges, fields, forests, mines laid everywhere. Which mines? TM-62, the Soviet Standard Mine. The ominous legacy of 1935 German engineering. Russian columns drove into minefields. Lead vehicles exploded. Columns stopped. Sitting ducks for Javelin and N-Law missiles. The Hostomel airport attack. Russian paratroopers landed. Reinforcements with tanks came on the road. Ukrainian mines destroyed the tank column. Airport reinforcement failed. Russian paratroopers annihilated. The irony. Russian tanks destroyed by TM-62s, a Soviet mine. Copied from a German Tellermine, the Russians copied German mines. Then they were destroyed by these copies, but the Russians learned. March 2022, Russian tactics changed. Defense, fortified lines, and mines, massive mines. Western intelligence reports, Russian forces laying mines at an industrial level. What does industrial level mean? May 2023, before the Ukrainian counter-offensive, Russian minefields. Not 100 to 200 meters deep as traditionally, 500 meters deep, some places 1,000 meters. Not 1 or 2 mines per square meter, 5 mines per square meter in some zones. Anti-tank TM-62, anti-personnel PFM-1, PMN-2, combined, layered defense, the Ukrainian counter-offensive. June 2023. Western-supplied Leopard 2 tanks, Bradley fighting vehicles, Challenger 2 tanks, all drove into Russian minefields. The results, catastrophic. A Leopard 2 with mine rollers in front exploded anyway. A TM-62 underneath the side, a mobility kill. Bradley vehicles exploded. Challenger 2 damaged. The counter-offensive stopped. Not because of Russian tanks, not because of artillery, because of mines. The ominous legacy of 1935 German engineering, the Tellermine design, stopped the NATO offensive of 2023. Ukraine, present day, 2024 to 2025. The war has become a war of attrition. World War style, but with drones and mines. Estimated figures by 2025, 174,000 square kilometers of Ukrainian territory contaminated with mines. That is 40% of the entire Ukraine. Larger than England, larger than Greece, almost as large as all of Syria, an estimated 2 million mines. Some estimates are higher, 3 million, 4 million. Ukraine has officially become the most mined country on earth, surpassing Afghanistan after 40 years of war, surpassing Syria after 14 years of civil war, surpassing Cambodia after decades of Pol Pot and civil war. The economic impact? Devastating. Ukrainian demining agencies estimate clearance will take 50 years. The cost, over $30 billion US. Each TM-62 mine costs about $50 to produce. It costs $2,500 to clear. a 50-to-1 ratio. Agriculture: 40% of Ukrainian farmland is inaccessible. Millions of acres cannot be plowed. It's too dangerous. Ukraine was the breadbasket of Europe. Now, millions of acres are unusable because of mines. Infrastructure reconstruction? Impossible without demining first. Roads, bridges, electricity, water. Everything is delayed. Civilians are returning to liberated areas, driving over mines. Children are finding mines. Farmers are hitting mines while plowing. Casualties are rising daily, even after the fighting stops. How many of these mines are TM series, based on the German design? A conservative estimate, 80%. 1,600,000 mines in Ukraine, all based on the Tellermine design from 1935. But innovation doesn't stop. Ukraine developed its own variant, the TM 2025. Modern technology, but the old German concept. The TM 2025 uses a 3D printed smart fuse, programmable, can set a timer, can set anti-handling, can adjust pressure sensitivity, but the basic design, a circular disc, pressure plate, TNT charge, the Tellermine concept, a German concept, 90 years old. Why is the Tellermine design so hard to clear? First, a large pressure sensor area. The entire upper area activates the mine. It's hard to deactivate without triggering it. Second, anti-handling devices. A secondary detonator on the bottom. If the mine is moved, explosion. A legacy of the Tellermine 42. Third, low metal content versions. The wooden mine 42 concept was copied. Modern mines use plastic, minimal metal. A metal detector finds nothing. Fourth, robust construction. The TM62 can remain in the ground for decades. Remaining functional, corrosion is minimal. German engineering quality lingers. Demining methods, manual demining. A person with a metal detector and a probe, slow, dangerous. 1 hectare per day, if you're lucky. If contaminated with 5 mines per square meter, weeks for just 1 hectare. Mechanical clearing, armored vehicles with flails or rollers, faster, but not 100% effective. Some mines survive. A vehicle drives over it. The mine explodes later under a civilian vehicle. Mine detecting animals, rats, dogs, they can smell explosives, effective against Tellermine-type mines, but slow and expensive to train. Remote-controlled demining vehicles. Ukrainian forces are using these, present-day 2025. A robot drives into the minefield, triggers the mines. No one dies. But expensive, limited availability. No method is perfect against the Tellermine design. German engineers made it too good in 1935. Ukrainian forces are using heavy octocopter drones to lay mines, flying over Russian lines, dropping TM 2025s on roads, on intersections, on choke points. Russian logistics vehicles explode. Supply lines are interrupted. The ominous legacy of 1935 German engineering, being deployed by drones in 2025. Technology evolves, but the basic concept remains the same. Let's compare specifications. Tellermine versus modern TM series. Tellermine 43, 1943. 33 centimeters in diameter, 9 centimeters high. 5.5 kilos of TNT. 220 pounds of trigger pressure. TM 46, 1946. 30 centimeters in diameter, almost identical. 9 centimeters high, identical. 5.5 kilos of TNT, identical. 200 pounds of trigger pressure, almost identical. TM 62 mem, 1960 to the present day. 31 centimeters in diameter, 10 centimeters high, 7 kilos of TNT. 250 pounds of trigger pressure, the concept, identical over 90 years, circular, pressure plate on top, TNT inside, pressure activated, simple, effective, deadly, production numbers globally. Germany, World War II, 12 million anti-tank mines, Tellermine based, Tellermine 35, Tellermine 42, Tellermine 43, over 3.5 million units combined, Wooden Mine 42, 5 million units, a wood version of the Tellermine concept, Bar Mine 43, 3 million units, a bar version but with the same pressure principle. The Soviet Union, 1946 to 1991, an estimated 40 million TM series mines produced. TM46 alone, 10 to 15 million estimated, 1946 to 70, TM57, 5 million estimated, 1950 to 80, TM62 all variants, 20 to 25 million, 1960 to the present day, Warsaw Pact countries, an additional 20 million. Poland produced TM46 variants, Czechoslovakia, East Germany, Hungary, Bulgaria, all had their own production lines. Russia, 1991 to the present day, 10 million more. TM62 men modernized, TM62P, TM62D, new variants but the same basic design. China copied the design, the Type 72 anti-tank mine, based on the TM series, based on the Tellermine. Production, 15 million estimated, Type 72A, Type 72B, Type 72C, multiple Chinese variants. All the Tellermine concept, North Korea, Iran, Iraq, Syria, Libya, all produced Tellermine copies. North Korea's M1966 mine, identical to the TM46, licensed production without a license. Iran produces its own version, the M7 anti-tank mine, circular, pressure plate, a Tellermine copy, total global production based on the Tellermine design, a conservative estimate, 100 million mines, a realistic estimate if all variants are included, 120 to 150 million, a German invention from 1935, copied 100 million times, produced in over 70 countries, no patent, no royalties, no recognition, only death. Millions upon millions of deaths, civilian casualties globally from mines since 1945, the international campaign to ban landmines statistics, over 1 million killed, over 2 million mutilated. How many of those from Tellermine-designed mines? Impossible to say precisely, but if 80% of all anti-tank mines are Tellermine-based, 800,000 dead, 1,600,000 mutilated. The ominous legacy of 1935 German engineering, copied worldwide, still killing today. Other countries copied the Tellermine concept. Italy, the VS-50 anti-personnel mine utilizes a similar disc design to the Tellermine. India, the minefield anti-tank, based on the Soviet TM series, which was based on the Tellermine. Pakistan, the P4 Mk2 anti-tank mine, a copy of the Chinese Type 72, which copied the TM series, which copied the Tellermine. South Africa, the No. 8 anti-tank mine, developed during apartheid, clearly inspired by the Tellermine. Israel, the No. 6 anti-tank mine, circular, pressure plate, the Tellermine concept. Every country that produces anti-tank mines uses the Tellermine concept or a variation of it. Germany invented it in 1935. The world copied it for 90 years. Even NATO mines follow the Tellermine principle. The American M15 anti-tank mine, developed in 1945 after studying captured Tellermines, circular, 33 centimeters in diameter, 10 kilos of composition B explosive, 275 to 435 pounds of triggering pressure. The design, obviously Tellermine inspired, circular, pressure plate, same concept. Production, over 1 million units during the Cold War. The British Mk7 anti-tank mine, developed in 1954. Circular, 28 centimeters in diameter, 8.5 kilos of TNT, or Composition B. British engineers studied captured Tellermines at Bovington, copied the concept, improved the details. But the basis? The Tellermine, the French AC-58 anti-tank mine. Circular, 30 centimeters in diameter, 5.5 kilos of TNT, almost identical to the TM-46, almost identical to the Tellermine. NATO and the Warsaw Pact, Cold War enemies. Both sides used the Tellermine concept. The German invention united opponents. The irony is complete. And Germany today? The Bundeswehr uses the AT-2 anti-tank mine, developed by Rheinmetall, a modern version. But guess what? Circular, pressure plate concept. Based on the Tellermine. Germany pays Rheinmetall millions for a modern version of its own 1935 invention. The irony is complete. Germany invents the Tellermine in 1935. Loses the war. The Soviets copy it for the TM-46. The Warsaw Pact produces millions. China copies it. North Korea copies it. Half the world copies it. Germany then buys a modern version back from its own manufacturer. Based on its own 1935 invention, nobody pays Germany royalties. Nobody acknowledges the German invention. Everyone simply copies it. And the German invention kills worldwide. 90 years later, Ukraine, present day, is living proof. Russian TM-62 mines, based on the German design. Ukrainian TM-2025 mines, based on the German design. Both sides fight against each other with German mines. A NATO Leopard 2 tank explodes on a Russian TM-62. German technology destroys a German tank with a German mine design. A Russian T-90 explodes on a Ukrainian TM-2025. A modern version of a German design from 90 years ago. The circle is complete. The irony is total. A German invention dominates the battlefield. If you appreciate this technical documentation, if you want to understand how German World War II technology shapes modern warfare, please support with super thanks. Every dollar allows me deeper research, access to military archives, Aberdeen Proving Ground reports, Soviet captured equipment studies, technical manuals. Super thanks is directly below this video. Every amount is appreciated. It enables better documentations. Thank you for your support. Back to the story. Mine warfare evolves in Ukraine present day, but the fundamental principle remains the Tellermine. Remains German, remains 90 years old. New technologies, 3D printing for casings, smart fuses, electronic triggers, GPS coordinates logging, remote deactivation, but the explosive charge, TNT or Composition B, like in 1935, pressure plate activation. The same as 1935, the circular design, the same as 1935. Technology changes, the concept remains. That is the sign of a perfect design. German engineers in 1935 solved the problem so well that it is still optimal 90 years later. No fundamental improvement is possible, only variations, only optimizations. But the basis? The Tellermine, German, 1935. Germany lost World War II. But the Tellermine won the peace. Terrorizes the world to this day. 174,000 square kilometers in Ukraine. 2 million mines. 40% of the country. Afghanistan is still contaminated. 40 years after the Soviet invasion. Syria is contaminated. 10 years of clearance estimated. Cambodia is still contaminated. 50 years after the conflict. Angola, Mozambique, Bosnia, Croatia, Lebanon, Yemen, Somalia. Over 60 countries worldwide have mine contamination. An estimated 120 million mines are still in the ground. waiting for decades. How many are based on the Tellermine design? 80% conservatively. 96 million Tellermine concept mines. Still active, still deadly. Worldwide, the German invention from 1935, copied by the Soviets in 1946, produced 100 million times globally, still killing in Ukraine present day. 90 years. One design lineage. German innovation, global adoption, eternal legacy. Tellermine 35 to TM62 to TM 2025 in Ukraine. The concept is unchanged. The effectiveness is proven. Death is guaranteed. This is technical truth, not propaganda, not opinion. Documented facts. Germany invented the modern anti-tank mine in 1935. The world copied it systematically, still uses it today. No other country developed a better concept. 90 years later. That is the ultimate proof of German engineering excellence and the ultimate tragedy of war technology. The perfect weapon kills perfectly forever. What do you think? Is Tellermine copying theft or evolution? Should countries pay Germany royalties for 90 years of use? Or is war technology fair game after defeat? Share your thoughts in the comments. Debate is encouraged, but let's keep it respectful. This video documents a technical lineage. From the Tellermine to the TM series to modern mine warfare, just the facts, just the numbers, and primary sources. If you want more documentaries like this, subscribe and activate the notification bell. Next video, other World War II German technology that the world copied. Until then.